County 23, I'll give you correction to try, but you have a fire in a one-story.
Here we go.
Ordinary, looks like it's about 40 by 125.
Welcome to Fire Service Court Radio. My name is Brad Pinsky, and I am your host for this incredibly special edition of Fire Service Court Radio. I am down here on the FDIC floor with an amazing number of signers of Billy Goldfeder's book, Pass It On, Second Alarm. So what we're going to do here is we are going to not give you legal advice today, but we are going to get advice from some of the most prominent and frankly insane people in the fire service. So, John Murphy, are you there?
I am here.
John Murphy, as our most special lawyer, what we're going to have you do is we're going to have you just monitor the advice. So I am here with Chip Comstock, Kurt Brown, and a whole host of people. We're going to start passing you around, and what I'm going to ask our audience to do is take in the most amazing advice. It could be legal advice. It could be just bad advice. But for the few seconds, we're going to have the people introduce themselves and give a quick word of advice. And bear in mind, this is only something you can do on the Lawyers Radio Show. All those other radio shows, they have nothing compared to us. So I'm going to hand my first speaker over. He's going to introduce himself and give you a 10-second piece of advice.
Hi, this is John Salka. Be nice.
Good legal advice, John.
This is Rick. And this is Rick Lasky. Be nice or nicer. Okay? Now, love the job, man. It's all about passion.
This is Paul Combs. Live with passion and stay fired up.
Okay, we're headed down to the next table. You've got some amazing advice. This will cost you if you want it anywhere else. So continuing on the radio show, the Fire Service Court Radio Show, we're going to continue down at the book signing. So more people are going to introduce themselves and give their 10 seconds of advice.
Mitch Bryan, Bryan, Texas. Stay low.
Stay low.
Brady McGregor, Bryan, Texas. Train hard, stay safe, and survive.
Ricky Manta, Bryan Fire Department, Bryan, Texas. Keep training hard.
Lieutenant Mike Wilbur, retired FDNY. Buckle up and slow down.
Good advice.
Just say hi and get some good advice.
Hi, this is Steve Austin. I'm glad to be here, and I love it. The fact that everybody's coming down and buying these books because it goes to a great cause.
Okay, we're going to continue on with our Fire Service Court Radio Show. Keep handing it over. So here is Kurt Brown, who actually is an attorney. He wants to say hi, and then we're going to pass to some other brilliant speakers.
Hello. I'm getting writer's cramp. So who else is on here? John?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
All right. What's the topic?
Well, the topic is going to be whatever Brad wants it to be. And probably a recap of 2016.
Well, I've got a couple of world famous firefighters here with me. Here's Rick Riley from Clearwater, Florida. Hold on.
Hello, this is Richard Riley from the Clearwater Fire Department and the Kentland Volunteer Fire Department. Just, hey, look, don't be complacent and do your job every day. That's all I can ask everybody. Thank you.
Now I'm going to take everybody to a very esteemed table on our radio show. Again, you cannot get this on any other radio show. We are going to have people that you could only get at the book signing with Billy Goldfeder and a whole bunch of other very impressive people. So here is three more of our final individuals who are going to give you their name and their best, most important piece of advice. Advice, once again, you may only get with a bunch of lawyers running a radio show.
Hi, this is Ray McCormack. I don't know what I'm doing on this show, but I think we doubled our audience today, though, right, Brad? Yeah. I heard Brad's taking us all out for lunch. I don't know. We'll see. That might go to court, right, Brad? Yeah. All right. It's a great radio show. We're all here at the Pass It On 2 book signing at FDIC. There's quite a lineup of authors here. It's a wonderful event. and it all goes to charity. Chief Goldfetter organized this whole event. Wonderful. I've been in both books. It's an honor to be in both books. I'm going to pass it back to Brad. Having a great time here at FDIC. If you're not here, get here next year. Here you go, Brad.
Okay, we are now going to move on to some more important and better looking people than the people we've had presently. So if we can pull him away, it helps on radio. So if we can pull him away, we are going to try to get the esteemed Billy Goldfetter to give you a piece of very good legal advice. Then we're going to survey our audience what they want to know about the law, and we're going to ask these people from all over the United States to ask us a legal question. So we, John, hold up there in the booth, and then I'm going to hand you. Oh, perfect. Okay, so 2 more to go. Ray's going to give you. Let me have one more person introduce themselves here, and please give a good piece of advice.
Oh, anything for Brad Pinsky. This is Ray McGuire. We're sitting here at the Pass It On 2 book signing. It's a great thing put together by Billy Goldfetter at FDIC. Another great event. Bobby Holton, got to give him a lot of kudos for putting together another terrific show. And the advice I can give is very simple. Just make sure that you don't let your training let you down. Make sure that you stay there and do what you have to do. Training is the key to make sure we all get home safe. God bless you guys. Bye-bye.
And finally, we're going to conclude with our words of wisdom, not necessarily legal wisdom, but words of wisdom from, yes, the conglomerator, the person who pulled this all together at the Pass It On 2 book signing, Billy Goldfetter. As if all of you could see him on the radio show, if all of you are listening and you are not at FDIC, you are just missing just an amazing, amazing time. So I'm going to make you guys hold on 1 second. John up in the booth, just hang on for a second. We'll get the final words of wisdom before we take legal questions from the people in the audience.
This is Billy Goldfetter. Trust no lawyers. Thank you.
Thank you. It's,
good advice.
All right, John, how are we doing up there?
We're doing good. So you want the call-in number for our call-in audience? You're going to poll the crowd.
No, I've got a whole audience in front of me who is dying to ask legal questions.
Well,
so and they don't know they could be on the Fire Service Corps radio show. So does anybody here have a great legal question they would like to ask? Yeah, you'd be surprised. People can get free legal advice from a lawyer standing in the middle of the show floor.
Random person in the audience, who the best lawyer that they know?
That's a good idea.
Let's ask this gentleman right here. Steve, who's the best lawyer you know? Chip David Comstock, without a doubt.
Chip David Comstock, ladies and gentlemen, the best lawyer ever in the history of
the world.
I am. So, John, are there any good legal questions from the multitude of people up there in the booth?
Well, we've got one question talking about
yeah, but we're doing a radio show.
the ADA and how it affects entry-level firefighters. So if I'm a firefighter, I have diabetes, can I be a firefighter under ADA?
Well, so here's my answer to this brilliant, tough legal question. So my answer is, it all depends on your physical abilities policies. You have to have a physical abilities policy, and your physical abilities policy, if it models NFPA 1582, needs to list the different responsibilities for being able to be a firefighter. So if diabetes or any other disability conflicts in any way with being a firefighter, it needs to have a rational bearing on the job. So let me give you an example. If we say you have to be able to lift 300 pounds and you have a back injury that prevents you from lifting 300 pounds, and being able to lift 300 pounds has a rational bearing, rational relation to job in the fire service, then yeah, that's a reasonable, reliable job criteria. If diabetes does not have anything to do with being in the fire service, then no, you couldn't. But with respect to that, if you adopt 1582, NFPA 1582 has Class A and Class B categories, and those Class A and Class B categories will tell you if it's the Class A exclusion, it says, no, you can't be a firefighter because you have those things listed in Class A. Such would be positive cardiac history, such requiring a pacemaker. Epilepsy could be a Class A category. Class B categories, you're allowed to be a firefighter if your physician will clear you. But really, what I urge everybody to do is have a physical abilities policy where you can then look at the policy and say, yeah, these are the health exclusions and health requirements for me to be in the fire service. So I'm John. You got another question up there, or you want me to continue on with Chip Comstock?
No, well, let's do one for Chip. Let's do. You're close to Chip, I'm sure.
I am very close to Chip.
Well, hopefully not that close, but close enough to have him answer this question.
Okay.
I am a woman firefighter in a fire department, and there's only one bathroom available for myself and 15 men on my shift. Does the department have to build me a bathroom?
That is a great question. I'm going to hand you over to Chip, and I will repeat that question. So, Chip, the question for our viewers is, you are a female firefighter, and there are many males in the fire department. In fact, you may be the only woman firefighter, but there's only one bathroom that you have to share the bathroom with all the males. Is that an issue?
So we're dealing with bathroom politics now, John?
Yes, we're going right down the toilet, as they say.
All right. Well, you know what? I think it would be non-discriminatory in terms of as long as it's treated as a unisex bathroom. The issue becomes, of course, that there may be an adequate number, that the males are using the restroom to exclusion of the female. And if that is in fact the case, I think that the department is going to have to make arrangements for another restroom. I mean, you could argue that it's sex neutral, but from a practical standpoint, everybody else can use that facility, but not to women. Or again, they're going to have to make arrangements that they're going to have to clear out. Either way, it's not a particularly easy situation. I mean, I think the department's got to find a way to be proactive on that. And what we run into problems in some departments is where they transfer women, to a facility that can be done, and it's that just may not be the solution. I mean, people try to do the right thing, and it doesn't happen.
All right, good answer.
So, one of the other issues that came up while I was one of the other issues that came up here for me, with our class, was the issue of during my class, we did some stuff. A lot of people talk about social media and things like that, and one of the things I found today in talking to people out on the floor, and I know this isn't a question per se, but dealt with the issue of people thinking that they can post. We see everybody doing Twitters and Facebook posts, posting stuff on YouTube, and they're doing that a lot at FDIC because there's so many great things going on here. But it may be sometimes that people put comments on social media without thinking about the consequences. And I want to just take this opportunity to remind our listeners, just in this sort of a free bit of legal advice, that you can't post it without, even though you're a public employee and you don't give up your First Amendment rights at the front door. It's not a free shot. In other words, you're not free of repercussions. If somebody wants you write something that's stupid, people say, "Oh, I had my right to do it." They don't. And I just want to remind people that if you're on the fire service, you're in the fire department, you got to be really careful what you put on on social media sites. So,
all right, good advice. Good advice.
Hey, I am sitting with some other great guys here from the fire service. Brad has not talked to them. I'm going to pass the phone down a bit. Let these guys give their pearls of wisdom, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds great.
Hey, this is Anthony Good from the city of Wilmington, Delaware. I want to let everybody know that everybody that comes with us can go with us. So as you're trying to move throughout your career, you're going to do different things in your career. You got to remember, some of the guys that are around us right now, some of the gals that are around us right now, always can't take and continue to move on. But what you always find is everybody's there for the right purpose, and that's to serve. And that's what we always have to remember. It's for everybody else. All right, hold on now.
Hey, Cleveland, retired chief, Mentee County, Florida, and my only bit of wisdom is to keep training, because when you stop training, that's not the only thing that stops. So does your career. So we just want to keep training. Okay, I'm passing you on.
My words of wisdom for you will come from my great uncle Italian uncle. Keep your eyes open.
You cannot get better advice from a guy, seriously, with a colostomy bag sitting next to me. That's just the legal wisdom that these people are giving you. I mean, you have 170 years in the fire service. That was Frank Montagna. I mean, you just do not get any better wisdom. So, John, can you hear me still?
I can still hear you.
Okay, so do we have any other great legal questions from people, the multitudes of people listening, like maybe my mother?
She could be. I think she's calling in now. But anyway, the question, this is a Kurt Verone question. I'm the department's photographer, and I take pictures for investigations, but I also take a bunch of other pictures just for casual scene background material as part of my responsibilities. Am I required to keep all of those pictures?
Wow, I got to tell you something, that my wonderfully beautiful and attractive girlfriend, who is also here, is the department photographer. She would love to know all those things. But let me take you right to Kurt Verone. Kurt Verone is going to answer that most important question for you, but I'm going to need to have you repeat the photography question for Mr. Verone.
I'll be glad to do that. Kurt, are you there?
This is a $350 an hour question. What is it?
It'll be $150. Give me $100 worth on this question. I'm the department's photographer.
Give me $100 worth.
Yeah, I'm the department photographer. I take a lot of pictures, fires and motor vehicle accidents and, other sort of responses. But I also take a lot of other casual pictures at the fire scene for background, backdrops and other things that are not directly related to a particular incident. Do I have to keep all of those pictures?
Okay. Was there a question in there?
Yeah. So do I have to keep all those pictures? And if I delete,
do I have to? Okay.
Yes. Do I have to keep all of the pictures?
I mean, if you're, there's a couple of questions there, but more than likely, assuming that you're a municipal fire department or a county or government entity, a public entity under the state public records law, and the pictures are taken in the ordinary course of business, then yes, those pictures would more than likely be a public record and they're going to have to be archived.
Is that $100 worth, or I still have $75 more?
Well, I can give you a little bit more, but I need a little bit more specifics, and we have to research the state. But I would say that's probably good, information for all 50 states. If you're a public entity and you respond to fires as part of your public function, pictures are taken. Those pictures are probably going to be public records. They have to be archived in accordance with the public records law, and they're going to have to be maintained for the duration of the record retention period that's applicable to photos taken at fire scenes.
Right. All right. I think I got my $100 worth. Thank you.
That was probably the $225 answer. So.
Well, thank you for those. You can buy me a beer later.
Okay. All right. I gotta go. I sit down. All right. I sat down that way. Let's just phone that away. Okay, get the phone that away. I don't know.
Get the phone that way. So while we have a minor intermission till we get back to Brad Pinsky, I think it's important that we had 4 lawyers here for FDIC, which is the biggest training event in this country. And if you didn't have an opportunity this year to come, you should come. In addition to the legal issues that are affecting the fire service almost on an everyday basis, they had a high presence of behavioral health specialists here this week as well, with 7 different classes on behavioral health and psychology. And it's important that you reach out to somebody that either is on the panel that they had yesterday on behavioral health, or the multiple practitioners who are here this whole week providing information on CISM teams, behavioral health and psychology, how to respond to somebody who's in distress in your organization, which is what we're finding. There's an increased emphasis on not only physical health, like we talked about earlier, but mental health as well. So I think that, and then the selection of other classes were amazing. A big, diverse group of people that came in to instruct, and certainly the fire lawyers with Brad Pinsky's class on must-have policies is a must-go-to class. A lot of good information. Even I learned something when I was the brief time I was in there. And then Kurt's social media and Chip Comstock's First Amendment are all important projects, or all important issues facing the fire service today. And I turn it back over to you, Brad. Are you there? And being that Brad is not there, we'll continue on with legal issues in facing the fire service. So, are you there, Brad? Hello, hey, Brad, come in. Can John, you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
John, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Hear me? Yes.
Well, let me tell you, we are once again still on the floor with all these signers of Pass It On, and the only thing anybody can do is talk about legal issues down here. It is just incredible. So there are a lot of things that people really want to know, but I have to say we should focus on some of the hotter topics. And as you know, social media was such a hot topic this year. And not only social media, but harassment that occurs on social media. So why don't you and I, just for a couple of minutes, talk about one of those issues. And I'll give you more in the abstract, where people are being harassed on social media, right? So it's two members of a fire department harassing the other one. So person A is harassing person B, and but it's happening outside of the firehouse. It's happening at It's happening at Facebook and not in the firehouse. So, John, what's your thought? Now, before we get to what the liability was, what's your thought on the issue?
Well, I think that the harassment and it could be also entitled cyber stalking is a crime in pretty much every state. So, if you're being harassed through a Facebook or a social media site, the first thing that needs to get done is you need to tell it's like harassment at work. You need to tell the harasser to stop harassing you. And if they continue to harass you over the social media, Facebook, or any of those sorts of things, then you have an obligation to talk to your employer, and your employer needs to deal with it as well, because there's this sort of component of protection that you have as an employee. There's been a number of cases where, like kids, as an example, have been stalking or harassing other children through Facebook and causing some of these children to commit suicide based on a lower, they're just not part of the group, and so they're encouraged to commit suicide. And there's 2 or 3 cases across the country that has occurred. For employers or employees, you probably have to go through the process of telling them to stop, reporting it to the employer. And if they continue not to, because of the electronic transmission of it, it could be considered a crime, and a prosecutor could take the case up as a criminal case against the person who's harassing you.
And that's exactly what the court said when they handed out a multi-million-dollar settlement for the horrible harassment that was going on. And in this case, it was worse because it was an individual. It was an individual who was high up in the department. It was a high-ranking person in the department. So that there was significant liability. Even though it was not a fire department Facebook site, it was 2 members of the fire department, and the court held it did not matter where the harassment took place. The fact it was one person harassing another. So those are questions, John, that's come up this year. I got to tell you, I really look forward to next year on Fire Service Corps Radio, where we see, there's just so much fodder for our show. That we really get to, Monday morning quarterback all of these horrible cases where, people have lost money, been awarded a lot of, large verdicts where the fire department wins, hopefully, but where people, where people have just gotten sued over good or bad reasons, but it's always great on Fire Service Corps Radio when we get to review these and we get to use the lessons learned for the benefit of our clients and benefit of all the listeners. So it's a very exciting time, obviously, to be working with fire engineering and to be doing all of these radio shows. But with developing law like social media, which is changing every single day, it's just very exciting to be a lawyer, frankly.
It is. It's a rewarding profession, and we do get to meet these challenges and help people solve problems. And all of us get calls from all over the country asking questions, and although we're not practicing in every state, obviously, but we can send people in the right direction for knowledgeable fire service lawyer or somebody who understands what the fire service culture is all about to get a definitive answer and possibly take legal action on behalf of that, the aggrieved firefighter.
Absolutely. So, do you have any other legal questions for our multitude of listeners?
Well, I think we're about out of time, and I think we ought to at least put a plug in by mentioning Wright Rescue Systems as a sponsor, and also thank Penwell and Fire Engineering for hosting us and being so gracious. The staff here has been wonderful and accommodating our crazy schedules. But I think it's a valuable opportunity to people to listen. We've had a number of listeners, which we find out about when we walk the halls, that somebody actually listens to our show.
Well, I mean, the number of people here who said they're avid listeners to our show, the Goldfetters, the Guires, Frank Montagna, who says he never misses an episode of our show. It is just absolutely an honor to be probably the most listened to show on the FDIC Blog Talk Radio. I understand we have something in the upwards of 26 million listeners, so I want to thank every one of them.
Well, on behalf of 26 million listeners, I think we're done today's show. So thank you very much, Brad, and your fellow lawyers down there.
Thank you,
and
guys.
We'll be talking to each other later.
Good afternoon, folks. Ryan Depew here with the National Fire Protection Association at FDIC 2016. I got a couple of my colleagues here with me. Ken Holland, who's an emergency services specialist at the National Fire Protection Association, and Meredith Hawes, who is our public education regional specialist.
Yes,
I knew it.
close enough.
Try not to screw that up, but yeah. So we're here in support of FDIC. As many of you may or may not know, the National Fire Protection Association develops about approximately 350 consensus codes and standards, along with the very well established public education and outreach program. Most of our efforts these days are focused on the fire service specifically. And Ken and I, over the last handful of years, have been working within those library of documents. Roughly about a third of the standards that NFPA puts together are specific to the fire service. So everything from the hose that's on your truck to the personal protective equipment that you wear and the apparatus that you ride, along with the occupational safety and health programs and many other organization deployment standards that revolve around the fire service. Again, these are all consensus-based standards, and we're here to talk a little bit about some of the material we offer through NFPA. And if you have questions, we'd be happy to field some of those questions. The number that you can call into is 760-454-8852. So to kind of kick things off, there's been a lot of buzz about a new project at NFPA 1700, which is a guide for structural firefighting. It's a project that came in at the request of the International Association of Fire Chiefs, and there's been a lot of discussion around the new research that's been put together through UL, NIST, and other organizations out there. And NFPA has been tasked with putting together a committee and developing a guide that would basically put all that research on the table and put it in the same spot that makes it readily accessible by the fire service. So I know that Dan Madrikowski and others that are participating within that effort have been here at FDIC this week talking about that project, and happy to answer any questions that people might have. We've begun the selection process for the committee, and we're still actively accepting applications, so we'd be happy to have anybody that's interested throw their name in the hat and participate in that effort. And we're hoping to have something put together within the next few years. So it's a slow process, but one that is well worth it in the end, or we believe it's well worth it in the end. Our committees are consensus group that are balanced by interest classifications. So we have users such as firefighters out in the field, manufacturers such as your equipment and apparatus manufacturers, as well as special interest categories such as fire investigators or those who have otherwise deemed special experts. And certainly a project that we think is very important for the fire service, and we're looking forward to having as much participation from the fire service as we can. So we are looking to have a meeting with that group sometime later in 2016, probably in October or November. We've already had 2 meetings to date. Again, really just philosophical conversation, nothing to report out at this point in time. And when we do actually have material to disseminate to the industry, it'll have plenty of time for public review and public comment. So certainly happy to take questions about the NFPA 1700 project. Please give us a call. As I said, I have Ken Holland, who's an emergency services specialist with NFPA, and he's here with us today. And we have a lot going on, not only in the fire service, but in the emergency medical service community, which, as many of you know, overlaps into the fire service, where we have fire service-based EMS, and many of you work hand in hand with your local EMS agencies, whether that's private or publicly offered. So, Ken, what's going on in the EMS world today?
A lot. Thank you, Ryan. So some of the subjects that we have at the NFPA that are involved with EMS is NFPA 1917, which is the standard for automotive ambulances. The second edition of that document just came out, and that is that's for the performance, design, and testing of new ambulances. As I said, the second edition just came out. The third edition, the committee will be working on the third edition coming up later on this year. They're looking to be meeting in Kansas City. Some of the issues that document addresses are there's some concerns about stretchers and stretcher mounts, some of the SAE testing requirements for seats and stretchers, as well as for this edition, they addressed the paint schemes, the retroreflective material, how much of a percentage you have to have on it, that you can use chevrons, you can use Battenberg patterns, you can use really any kind of patterns, so long as it covers a certain percentage, and also that the colors are highly they're of high contrasting colors, so they're not similar in nature. They're contrasting. Another big topic we have going on now is our EMS Technical Committee is developing a new document, NFPA 451, which is a guide for fire-based community healthcare providers, and that comes out of a new project request from the International Association of Firefighters, and it's to really address the issue of mobile integrated healthcare community paramedicine, which is becoming a hot topic lately because of the Affordable Care Act and reimbursement rates for EMS providers and services. So our EMS committee is working on that document. Again, it's in draft form, and they're going to be looking to meet in November to continue working on developing a draft document. And another issue or another subject we have with EMS is within our Fire Service Occupational Safety and Health Committee. And that committee is responsible for, more notably, NFPA 1500 and NFPA 1582. But within 1500, they're talking about EMS and fatigue. How many shifts are too long to work. Not saying that, not putting in the document requirements for a shift length, but addressing that, you have to have a plan in place to address, addressing fatigue in your EMS providers, be it fire service based or non-fire service based.
And while we're on the subject of 1500, Ken, I know that there's been a lot of conversation in the industry right now, especially as it relates to fire apparatus and the use of an exterior riding position for the purpose of fire attack in wildland and brush areas. That's some new requirements that came out in NFPA 1906 just recently, and NFPA 1500 has been looking at that material to determine if that's a safe practice. Can you speak to that at all a little bit?
Sure. Thank you. The Fish Arch Committee met back in November to address this issue, and as it is right now in the current edition of 1500, you have to be seated and belted before the apparatus is placed in drive or moving. This issue of exterior riding positions came to the committee at our meeting, and the Fish Arch Committee still believes that you still need to be seated and belted. And there were quite a few public inputs to change 1500 to address some of the changes that were in 1906. We did have some guests there speaking about the need to make the change in 1500 to allow for this exterior riding position, and the committee believes that it is an unsafe practice, and they put language in as part of the first draft. Now it's still in draft form, but they put in draft language that states that it explicitly prohibits exterior riding positions because they believe it is an unsafe practice. Now there's still a lot more to go in the revision cycle in the process. The document is open for public comments until May 16th. NFPA 1500 that is. So if you'd like to, submit comments and weigh in on this issue, I know the committee would love to hear from members of the public to further discuss this and address it.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Thanks for clarifying on that. And that, just to clarify, also NFPA 1906 is our standard on wildland fire apparatus. So that language is already published and out there, which allows for this exterior riding position. So depending on what happens with 1500, would there be a situation where that language then go away?
Go away in terms of what's in 1906?
Correct.
That would be up to the apparatus committee that developed 1906. But if that were the case, I mean, there would be a clear conflict. 1500, prohibited the use of this, but 1906, that's the building design of it. Whether you choose to use it or not, I guess it's up to the authority having jurisdiction. But it would certainly create another point of discussion between the committees as to how that would be addressed.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thanks for clarifying on that.
Sure.
And Ken and I will be around at the booth this week, along with Meredith and a few other folks. Stop by the NFPA booth if you're here at FDIC kicking around. Our booth is 3006, which is just inside the Capitol Avenue entrance on the west side. I believe it's the west side of the convention center. So if you're here, please stop by. We'd love to hear from you and answer your questions. Ken will certainly be there to answer questions on the emergency medical services side of things, as well as 1917 and 1500, and I'll certainly be there to talk about 1700. So with that being said, we're also here in support of the public on our public education side, and Meredith Haas is here with us, and Meredith, I'm curious what we got going on with the public education side of things.
Yeah, sure. Well, and one of the fun things about FDIC is having access to our experts in many different, excuse me, fields and backgrounds. And so I'm happy to represent public education and just update on what's happening, what's new. Folks are always interested in what's the latest and greatest for public education, and a lot of interest in materials that are available at no cost and from our website. And so I've been sharing information about items like our tip sheets, which we have about 30 different tip sheets, different topics. They come in many different languages and address leading causes for fires, some things that you'll see common fires, but you'll also see some unique little niche tip sheets in there as well. So a couple of those interesting ones, we've had sheets now on hoverboards. We had a little surge with hoverboard fires recently, and so you'll find our tip sheet available there. Barn safety, which is kind of an interesting one, addresses things that you can do to keep your barn safe, your farm animals safe, the environment safe and clean. And then also, again, like I mentioned, some of the common causes for fire. So you'll see home escape plans and smoke alarm safety, carbon monoxide safety. So all of those tip sheets can be downloaded. You can customize them and add your fire department information onto them. So that's really handy. We always get a really good response on that. So you can download those, no cost. Also, some other products that of our interest are community toolkits, and those are available again on our website and include all kinds of different information that you can use in community initiatives, from op-eds to press releases, public service announcements. So I encourage people to take advantage of those free resources. And other programs too that you'll find, our Learn Not to Burn program for school-age children. It's been updated recently, and you can download all of those materials, and Learn Not to Burn. And that's a program that's geared towards the older adult population and addresses not only fires for older adults, but also slips and falls. And that's a program that was developed with the CDC. And again, this is something that you can download and use as much as you want at no cost. And something that's pretty cool that's coming up with Remembering When is a training that NFPA offers annually. And we ask for applications, and you can find that on our website now. That just went up recently. You can apply to come out to this training in a partnership with an agency that serves the older adult population, like a Meals on Wheels or an area agency on aging or commission on aging. And in this partnership, come out and receive a couple of days of training. NFPA covers all of those costs involved, accommodations. This year it's in San Antonio, Texas, November 13th through the 15th. So again, you can find that on our website. And all the information about what's needed to apply. And we take about 30 different teams from across the country for Remembering When. So those are some of the newest things, or a lot of things that I'm talking about at the booth. Some of the other common questions that I've had the last couple of days have been on what's new for videos. And we have some cool new videos for young people. We have one called Little Rosalie, that talks about home escape plans and how kids can to recognize the sound of their smoke alarm and get out quickly and go to their meeting place. And then also another video called Firefighters Are on Their Way. And that, again, does touch on the importance of a home escape plan, but it also goes into a little information about firefighter familiarity and knowing that our firefighters are our friends, and recognizing the gear and the equipment that they use and that they wear, and so kids feel comfortable. So some of the things that I've been answering questions about, also our Education Messages Advisory Committee, and they just actually did a revision of this booklet and just finished up this conversation, this meeting about 3 weeks ago, and that document lays out all of our messages and looks at those about every 2 or 3 years to make sure that we have consistent messaging for public education, and so that you can use it as a reference guide. So you'll find that soon up on the website revised. And then probably last thing that's at the tip of everybody's lips are the Fire Prevention Week theme, which it's still kind of under wraps right now. We will be launching that the early part of May. And so it's still, like I said, I'd love to be able to share that right now, but that's going to, you can watch for that or listen for that to come out in early May.
All right. Thanks, Meredith. That sounds great. So just to clarify the web address where all that's available, just nfpa.org?
nfpa.org, and you'll go to safety information on the website for that.
Okay, great. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of great resources there. Now, are there resources there for the fire departments to use for Fire Prevention Week, or is there any type of contest going on where they can, win these type of pub ed materials?
Yeah, there will be. We don't have anything out yet, Ryan. Thanks for asking that question, but it will be soon. What we're doing right now, actually, what you'll find on our website is a lot of commotion over Sparky's 65th birthday. And so we have participation from across the country helping Sparky work down his bucket list with photographs of him in front of visiting all kinds of different important sites and places across the country. And so a lot of hoopla about that. And then we'll kind of settle down into Fire Prevention Week here in a few weeks. And there will be an opportunity to win materials, to be a part of what's going on with the theme. And I will release this, that it does support smoke alarms again this year, which is such a vital piece of information.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for giving us that info. Again, if anybody has any questions and they want to give us a call, please do. Our number here is 760-454-8852. We'd love to hear from you and answer any questions that you may have. As Meredith was saying, we got a lot of great resources available on our website, which is actually in the process of being revamped and revitalized. And hopefully that'll be done by the middle to end of summer, I believe, is the schedule for that new website to be up and running. And just to jump back to the codes and standards side of the house, where we do a lot of our fire service safety work, Ken Holland has been instrumental in working on a program called Your Voice Matters, which is all about engaging with you, the folks that are out in the field on the day-to-day basis, riding on the trucks and getting your hands dirty, and getting your inputs into our standards development machine. So, Ken, can you give us a little overview of how the Your Voice Matters campaign works?
Sure, thank you. So with the Your Voice Matter campaigns, what we do is we look at documents that are in revision and some hot topics within those documents, and it's what we want to do is we want to get the folks in the fire service involved in our process, through the submission of public inputs or public comments. So the committee, those that are using the standards and are actually held bound by our standards, we want your input, your direct voice, on what do you think the committee's done, based on what's your opinion on what the committee's done on a particular subject matter. So for example, with 1500, we've got the exterior riding position, that, as I said earlier, that is out for public comment. What we want through the Your Voice Matters campaign, we want to hear from the fire service, and that's who we're targeting with that. We've also got NFPA 1582. That is also out for, and that's the medical requirements to be a firefighter. That's out for public comment as well. One of the big issues with that is hearing aids. 1582 prohibits the use of hearing aids, and part of it is because there's a lack of science and data where they've tested hearing aids in in extreme conditions that firefighters are operating in. They just don't have the test results to say that it's safe or not safe. So to err on the side of caution, the committee has kept it prohibited. Is that so? Through that Your Voice Matters campaign, we want to hear from the fire service to get involved in our process.
And Ken, how do fire departments participate with this program? So
you go to the NFPA website, and there's a link to go to the Your Voice Matters website, and when you go there, you'll see the issue that's at hand. And it also, there's a video that describes the NFPA process. It also, there's links to what committees are accepting, what documents are accepting public inputs and comments and technical committee applications, which is another point. It is so important to have members of the fire service on our technical committees, and like as Ryan was saying earlier, our technical committees are balanced, and to have as many members of the fire service represented on our technical committees that for documents that revolve around the fire service, it's key, it's important. We need to have their engagement involved.
Well, just to clarify a little bit more, because I'm learning about this as you're talking about
Sure.
it. So they can participate in topics at hand, whatever's up and kind of part of the current discussion,
Mhm.
or they can search other topics. Is that correct?
Correct. So So as we just pick out a few hot button issues, but any of the documents that are open for public input and public comment, they can certainly go in and engage in the process that way. If it's a particular issue that they're that drives them. They can certainly go in and submit comments on anything or public input on anything that's open and available. Now, there is a process as it relates to the comments and what you can comment on, and I could take hours discussing that part of the process. But for all intents and purposes, you can go in and pick out other areas you want to submit comments or inputs on.
And I'll jump in here and say, to Ken's point, a couple of things. Number one, you don't have to be an NFPA member, dues-paying member, to participate in that standards development process. It is really simple to submit public inputs and comments. It's all done online. So if you have a computer and internet connection, you're good to go. You set up a quick profile, which is free to do at nfpa.org. And then once you have that set up, it'll allow you to go into the different documents and make suggested changes to the areas of interest. Which is great. And to speak to Ken's point about the fire service participation within NFPA codes and standards, we actually have a program there that will provide a little bit of funding to support your efforts there. So when we go back to those interest classifications and the balance on those committees, most of the fire service folks that apply to committees end up in the enforcer category. And that enforcer category, we have a program called the Enforcer Funding Program, which helps to pay for your travel and your hotel costs when you're participating in those committee meetings. So certainly that's available to you all, and we would entertain any applications from the fire service that we can for those committees.
And to build on your point, all of our meetings are open to the public. You don't have to be a technical committee member to come to our meetings, and also you don't have to be a technical committee member to participate in the process.
Yeah, and if you know which standard you're interested in, all of our standards are assigned a number. So, for example, NFPA 1500 on occupational safety and health programs for the fire service. If you wanted to learn more about 1500, you could just go to nfpa.org/1500, and that format works for all of our standards. There's ability to sign up for email alerts in there. You can see where the meetings are happening. The meeting notices are posted there. Lots of good information. So encourage you to check out those document information pages for the standards that you're interested in. And there's even a full list, I think, on the website that'll allow you to just kind of scroll through if you're not sure what the document number is. So you got a couple options to navigate through there. So we're excited to be here at FDIC this year. We got a few more colleagues with us downstairs. Andrew Clock from our Alternative Fuel Vehicle Safety Program is here. He had a presentation this morning that went well. And he's here answering questions about that program, which is a free online training program that's available to the fire service. So we encourage you to check out that. It covers everything from natural gas and propane powered vehicles to hybrids, electrics, and other technologies that are emerging. So I think that program has actually also received grant funding to provide 20 train the trainer events over the course of the next year or so. So they'll be going out across the country at 20 different locations, training fire department instructors to go back to their departments and conduct the in-the-field training. And for those of you who are interested and want to do it on your own, you can do the online version as well. So a lot of opportunities there, and we think there's some good information to be shared. So if you have questions about that, please stop by our booth or give us a call here, and we'd be happy to point you in the right direction. I'm not sure that website is actually not at nfpa.org. I think it's evsafetytraining.org. So keep that in mind if you're looking for the alternative fuel vehicle safety training stuff. The website is evsafetytraining.org.
We also have some sprinkler specialists at the booth. If you have any questions on our sprinkler initiative, you can find both Jeff Hudson and Tim Travers as well.
Okay. Yeah, and the home fire sprinkler safety initiative, there's a handful of coalitions out there. I'm not sure, is there one here in Indiana? I should probably know that. But
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah,
I know there's about 26 across the country now.
So working hard to get home fire sprinklers in every home, newly built home out there in the U.S. And with lots of good resources and materials there regarding costs, fire losses and saves, all those things. So feel free to stop by and get some of that information as well.
And I would just make a quick note on the sprinkler initiative that NFPA has just recently created a 10-minute mini lesson on sprinklers for the public, for public educators or firefighters, fire departments to use. But it's a great way to introduce the idea of a public safety initiative like this and kind of weave it into a comfortable conversation if you have that little 10-minute block of time. So you'll find that on our website as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, and for those of you who are interested more, again, on the codes and standards side, we got a lot of material on the website. Standards in Action, there's a Standards in Action video that's posted there. which was put together by Ken Willette, who is the Public Fire Protection Division Manager. And it really walks through all the different equipment and staffing issues, just a real nice synopsis of how NFPA standards affect your day-to-day activities on the fire ground. So a great resource there to go ahead and take a look at and listen to, and it may point you in the right direction for which standards you're looking to get involved with or otherwise learn more about. So I think that's about all I had for the group here, unless anyone has anything else to add.
If we have any callers.
Yeah, if we have any callers, we'd be happy to entertain questions. It doesn't look like we have any right now. But we appreciate you allowing us the time to come on and talk with everybody and share the information that we have. Again, we're NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association. We're at booth 3006 for those of you who are at FDIC. We're glad to be here and be a part of it. Thanks to Penwell for putting on a great event, and we appreciate it. And I guess that's it.
Muted. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in to Fire Engineering Talk Radio. Each week, our host will introduce you to a various cast of characters you will only find here. Each host will share experience, knowledge, and expertise regarding their years in the fire service, allowing you to call and speak with them live. An experience you can only find on Fire Engineering Talk Radio. So thanks for joining us. Enjoy and stay safe.
Hi, this is Rich Gasaway, host of the Rich Gasaway Show on Fire Engineering Blog Talk Radio. And I'm coming to you today from FDIC International 2016 in Indianapolis. And man, is this place abuzz with energy. If you're not here, you need to be here. This is the premier fire conference. There's just so much activity going on here, so many people to see, so many new people to meet, so many amazing classes. My biggest frustration from FDIC is this. Which class am I going to take? I want to take this one and this one and this one and this one. I take my show guide and I crumple it up because I'm so frustrated because there's so many good classes. Good problem to have, huh? But if you're at home, you're missing it. So plan next year, FDIC 2017, Indianapolis. All right, so I was given a pre-conference program on flawed situational awareness, the stealth killer of first responders. That's my passion topic. And the half-day pre-conference, we focused on defining what situational awareness is and then talked about some of the barriers that cause problems with situational awareness development. So I thought what I'd do in today's episode is to share with you just a little snippet from that program that you might have missed and maybe inspire you to consider attending a situational awareness class in the future or catching me next year at FDIC. So what is situational awareness? Most first responders intuitively know that situational awareness is important. Even the supervisors and the training officers are often pushing the message of situational awareness. Remember situational awareness. Remember to keep your head on a swivel. Remember to look around. And those are all good, solid messages. But it really isn't the complete story about what situational awareness is. So here's the definition. Situational awareness is your ability to perceive and understand what is happening in the environment around you in the context of how time is passing. And it's really important to keep in your mind how time is passing, because as time passes, conditions change. And as conditions change, then so does awareness. So keeping that context of time passage is really important to the process of developing situational awareness. And then in turn, being able to make accurate predictions about future events, hopefully in time to avoid bad outcomes. So that's the definition, but there's, it's a big fat definition and there's a lot to remember there. So what I've done for first responders is I've taken that definition and kind of condensed it into the three most critical component words: perceive, understand, and predict. And while you're preparing for responding to, arriving at, sizing up, and operating at incident scenes, if you can just remember that loop of that acronym PUP, perception, understanding, prediction, and keep that floating around, then you'll be making monumental advancements toward the development and maintaining of your situational awareness. So let's take those three component parts and break them down a little bit. Think of developing situational awareness as like building a house. Build a house, you have to start with a strong foundation. On that strong foundation, you build walls, and on those strong walls, you build a roof. So let's start with the foundation of situational awareness: perception. What is perception? How is it that you have perception? As we talk about the term perception, that's where most people describe their situational awareness, using terms that describe perception. If you ask somebody, do you have strong situational awareness? And that person might say, yes, I do. And you say, well, how do you know? And that person might say, because I pay attention, or I keep my head on a swivel, or I look up, down, and all around, or I actively listen to the things that are going on around me, or I conduct a thorough size up when I arrive at an incident scene. If anyone that you talk to describes their situational awareness using any of those terms, They're not wrong, but they're only describing the beginning. They're only describing the perception. That's just the foundation. There's walls and roof to this as well. So how do you perceive anything? Well, as you're looking out on the world, rays of light come into your eyes, either from light fixtures or from the sun. There's nerves inside of your eyes that take the rays of light, turn them into electricity, and send that electricity back into your brain. As you listen to someone talk, sound waves come into your ears. The nerves inside of your ears take those sound waves, turn them into electricity, and send the sound waves into your brain. That is the process of perception. You have 5 senses, always on, always gathering information: seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling. All 5 of the senses use nerve endings to gather information, and then that information is turned into electricity and sent into the brain. That is the process of perception. It's hard to have situational awareness if you're not paying attention. It's hard to have situational awareness if you're not present. You may have complete situational awareness about what's happening in the room that you're in right now, but chances are, in the next room over or the next building over, you have no awareness as to what is happening. So it's really important that you are indeed present, although presence can mean a couple things. Presence can mean physically present. Present can mean mentally present, because you can be physically present but not quite mentally present. And you can also be present by radio traffic, meaning that even though you're not physically there, someone else is describing the incident scene over a radio, and that allows you to perceive what they're saying and then develop awareness from that. So the start of situational awareness is perception, the inputs of the information from the 5 senses. That information then travels down 5 different highways in the brain, 5 different neural pathways down to a destination. There's got to be some place in the brain where what you see gets added to what you hear, and gets added to what you feel and taste and smell, and gets all put together as one picture of understanding. And when that happens, when those puzzle pieces get assembled, you advance then to the second part of the situational awareness development continuum, and that's understanding. Understanding is having comprehension about the things that you are perceiving. The inputs are, think of them as like puzzle pieces. So you have 5 different inputs, 5 different routes that puzzle pieces are traveling down. When the puzzle gets put together, then you have comprehension, then you have understanding. You literally in your mind do see like the completed puzzle. If the puzzle isn't complete, if there's information missing, then you might say, well, I don't know, I'm confused. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. And then comes that one piece of information that's missing that fills in the missing spot on the puzzle, and then you say, now I understand. That's called having your moment of clarity, that point when the incomplete information that is to that point confusing becomes clear as additional inputs come in from one of the other senses. So as this proverbial puzzle gets put together, you are then said to have understanding. Now, it seems so easy, right? Just see something and understand it, and just hear something and understand it. But it really isn't that easy, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong on the highway from perception to understanding. Just like when you're traveling down the road, there's a lot of things that can keep you from reaching your destination. You can have a flat tire, you can run out of gas, there can be road construction, there could be debris in the road, there could be an accident that you can't get around. A lot of things can keep you from reaching your destination. The same is true as information is trying to travel down the highway from perception to understanding. There's lots of things that can keep it from reaching its destination. Those things that keep it from reaching the destination of understanding are what I call barriers to situational awareness. A barrier is anything that impacts your ability to perceive or understand or predict the future. And there are over 100 barriers to situational awareness, which when I was doing my research just completely blew my mind. That I thought there maybe would be 10 or 15, maybe upwards of 20 barriers. And it was like, oh my, started keeping the list, oh yeah, this can impact awareness, this can impact awareness. And ended up with a list of over 100 of these that I've done quite a bit of research on in my PhD program on the barriers that flaw awareness. That was the focus of my study. And so what I've done is created programs that teach first responders about the barriers that flaw awareness. So let's just give you an example of one barrier that might flaw, or that might impact the information traveling from perception down to understanding, so that you kind of have an idea as to, just an example of one. So the one I'll give you is sensory conflict. So what sensory conflict means is that the inputs from coming in from the five senses are not in agreement. In other words, the eyes see something that say what is going on is A, but at the very same time, the ears hear something that say, no, what is going on is B. Now we have sensory conflict because the eyes see A and the ears hear B. Think of it this way. The eyes are gathering puzzle pieces and sending that information into the brain. The ears are gathering puzzle pieces and sending that into the brain. Those puzzle pieces, when they're coming together, don't fit. They don't align. The prongs and the holes don't come together. And when this happens, this can create some confusion inside the brain. A lot of times this confusion happens in an area of the brain that is outside of your awareness. You're not even aware consciously of the fact that this conflict is raging. But as this conflict is raging and trying to figure out which sense is right, A or B, vision or hearing, that energy and the attention it takes for the brain to try to figure out how to get the puzzle pieces fit together can draw your attention away from the task that you're performing. Think of it as your ability to perceive and understand just kind of shifts into neutral, or what I call mind drift. Your mind, the attention in your mind, it goes off to trying to resolve the conflict. All the while, the incident scene is still progressing. Things are still changing. Information is still coming in. It's just you're no longer aware of the visual clues or the audible clues that are coming in. To give you an example of how you can be impacted by mind drift, one of the things that I ask attendees often in a program, which usually ends up with a nice chuckle, is I'll say, how many of you, just by show of hands, have ever driven your car to a destination, arrived there, but you can't remember the trip? In other words, as you were driving your car down the highway at highway speeds, you really weren't paying attention to driving. I mean, you were driving, your eyes were looking at the road, and your ears were listening to things, and your hands were on the wheels, and your foot was on the gas. But other than that, your mind was not on the act of driving. Maybe it was on a conversation, maybe it was singing along with the radio. Hopefully, you weren't texting or talking on the phone, but, you don't even have to be doing anything but looking out the window as you're driving the car down the highway, and your mind can drift off into another dimension of, like, what am I going to do this weekend? Oh, I'm getting ready to go on a vacation. What things do I need to pack? And whatever is occupying the attention in your mind is causing you to drift off task. And when that happens, you're no longer paying attention to the things that are happening in front of you. So when you have this sensory conflict, the mind is kind of drifting off to resolve the conflict, and all the while the information is still happening around you, but you're just not quite understanding it. So there's lots of other things that can go wrong on that highway from perception to understanding, but we have a limited amount of time here, so I'm going to pass on by and then take up the third part of situational awareness development, the roof of the house, and that is prediction. Prediction is the ability to anticipate future events before they happen. In other words, getting your mind out ahead of what is happening to try to see, using what we would term your mind's eye, try to see in your mind's eye the things that are going to happen into the future. Now, how far in the future do you look in your mind's eye? Well, that's really a function of how fast conditions are changing. If you're at a structure fire with fast changing conditions, you're looking to the future maybe only 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes into the future. If you're at a wildland incident that say is a multi-day campaign wildland incident, you're looking to the future maybe hours or days into the future. But it's using your mind's eye, using your imagination to try to see into the future and anticipate the things that are going to happen before they happen. And as you look into the future, what I would encourage responders to do is, as I borrow this from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and that is to begin with the end in mind. Arrive on the scene and think, what do I want the end result to look like? You know, what would success look like? And then that's the end. And then come back to the beginning. And the beginning is like where you are in the present moment and say, now what things should we do? Could we do? What things can we safely get done that would accomplish that end result? And as you do that, you want to kind of be asking yourself some questions. And one of those questions would be, where is this event headed? Every incident is headed in some direction, and usually not in the direction of better. Very few people call 911 because they've done something smart. It's usually the incident is headed in a bad direction, and we get called to come there to either shift that into neutral or at least or stop the progression of whatever is happening. So that's our mission. You know, our mission: save savable lives, save savable property. We arrive on the scene and with that mission in mind, and we engage in activities to try to be successful with our mission. So what I'm going to encourage you to do as you're thinking about that highest level of situational awareness development is, before you engage in an activity, is to begin with the end in mind, and then to ask yourself, where is this incident headed? Every incident is headed in some direction, and it's headed in that direction at various speeds depending on how fast conditions are changing. So where is the incident going, and how fast is it going to take for that incident to get to that destination? So one of the things that I would kind of help frame this up for you is to think, if we arrived on say a working residential dwelling fire, if we arrived on the scene of a working residential dwelling fire and we did nothing, as if we didn't even show up. In other words, I'm not telling you to do this, but you just show up and you do nothing. Well, something's going to happen, and you'll get to watch it happen. And what you're going to do is you're going to watch this incident progress and digress and degrade into probably no savable lives and no savable property. It's going to burn down. So that would be the end result. And the question that you would then ask is, how long would it take for that to happen? How long is it going to take for that end result to occur? Now, when you think about firefighter safety and survival, you think about the two prominent things that are most likely to happen during that decomposition of the structure. As things are morphing in the bad direction. What could kill a firefighter if they were engaged in firefighting as it's decomposing? And essentially, two primary things come to mind: flashover and building collapse. And if you look at firefighter fatality reports, you'll often see cases where firefighters were overrun by fire, or thermal assault, a flashover type event, or there was some kind of collapse. And if you set a building on fire, and assuming the building has contents in it, and you do nothing but watch it, you'll see eventually both of those events occur. You'll see the flashover after a period of time, and then you'll see a collapse after a period of time. So those are the inevitable results of a fire left unchecked. So when you arrive on the scene, you have to look at the conditions and say, where is this at? Where's this fire at in the process of heading toward a flashover or heading toward a collapse? Because you know that it's heading toward both of those. And one of those or both of those might have even happened before you ever even arrived on the scene. But let's assume that it hasn't, and you get on the scene and you say, okay, this fire is heading toward the direction of a flashover. Let's just assume for the moment that a flashover would occur prior to collapse. So it's heading in the direction of a flashover. Can we stop it? Can we change this outcome? How fast are the conditions changing? What is the smoke, color, volume, velocity, density? What are the flame color, volume, velocity, density? What is that? How fast are those? Is the heat building up? How fast is the flame decomposing the contents that's creating the heavy, thick, black, fuel-enriched smoke that is heading in the direction of the flashover. How fast is that happening? And can we engage in a way that's going to prevent that outcome before it happens? If we engage and we go inside and the outcome happens when we're inside, that's not where we want to be, obviously, and you're going to have a bad day. So what you have to do is you have to look at that incident, read that incident, and that's part of the situational awareness developed with size up and understanding and prediction, and say, is this incident heading in the direction of a bad outcome? Yes. With the resources I have, the people, the water, the equipment, are we able to engage and prevent that or stop that bad outcome from happening, shifting that progression of that incident into neutral before it happens? Because if we engage and then it happens, we're going to be caught in it. And that's the same for flashover or collapse. Now, an essential critical component of situational awareness development, especially at the prediction level, is keeping track of the passage of time. The passage of time is so critical to the development of situational awareness that it is actually built into the definition. So let me just swing back to the definition and just kind of refresh you on that. Situational awareness is your ability to perceive and understand what is happening in the environment around you in the context of how time is passing. See, it's built right into the definition. And then in turn, being able to make an accurate prediction of the future. So when we're operating in these environments of high stress and high consequence, one of the situational awareness barriers is time compression. Time distortion. Time can become distorted. You have a mental clock in your head that helps to keep track of time. It'll tell you when it's time to wake up, it's time to go to sleep, when it's time to eat. This clock is kind of keeping track of, how the day is passing. But you can, in a normal course of life, you can lose track of time. If you've ever been out doing something social with friends and family, fishing or at a party or something, and you look down and you say, oh my gosh, it's 2 hours later than I thought it was. That's an example of time distortion. When you're operating in environments of stress and consequence and changing conditions, then time can really become distorted. The brain really just loses track of the passage of time because it's trying to keep track of all the other changing conditions and things that are happening around you. So it's really important that time not only be monitored, but announced to the incident scene. So one of the best practices to deal with the problem of time distortion is to have dispatch or the commander announce the passage of time. Hey, incident scene, 10 minutes have gone by, 20 minutes have gone by, 30 minutes have gone by. I can remember, when I was actively working as a fireground commander, how many times dispatch would give me my 10-minute elapsed time notification, and I would, make a mental note of it, and then dispatch shortly after would say, it's your 20-minute elapsed time notification, and I would say to myself, oh, no, dispatch, you've got that wrong. I mean, seriously, it's been like 2 minutes, and you're telling me that's the 20-minute elapsed time notification? That's impossible. And then I looked down at my watch, and holy cow, 10 minutes went by, and it just seemed like 2 minutes have gone by. When you're so into the processing of information of the things that are happening around you, time really does slip out of your awareness. And for you to understand how fast conditions are changing, how fast things are progressing, it has to be in the context of how time is clicking off. So you really do have to compare the clicking off of time to the changing of conditions, and then that'll put into perspective the speed at which things are happening. And as you look at the speed at which things are happening, you have to look at your resources and say, can we outrun it? Can we outmaneuver it? Can we move faster than these conditions are changing? This fire is headed in the direction of a flashover. The smoke is building up. The heat is building up. Are we able to shift that into neutral with cooling or with venting in time before the flashover occurs? Because if we go inside on a search or on an attack and the conditions change and it becomes ripe and the flashover occurs, we're going to be in a bad way. Or if it's heading in the direction of a collapse and we're inside and the building is decomposing under the stress of fire, then and it collapses, we're going to be in a bad sort of way. So as you're gathering the information to form your awareness, what kind of information do you need? What are the most important pieces of information you need? Well, here's a hint. You don't need all the information. 100% information, two things. Not only is it impossible to gather 100% of the information that's happening, but two, even if you could, it would completely overwhelm you. Think of it this way. When you arrive on the scene and you're sizing it up and you're gathering your puzzle pieces, you eventually have to put that puzzle together. You know, so imagine I dump a 1,000-piece puzzle out in front of you and say, there it is. There's your puzzle. There's your 1,000 pieces of information. Put it together. You'd be like, oh my God, this is going to take hours. You don't have that kind of time. Now, if I gave you a 9-piece puzzle, 3 on the top, 3 in the middle, 3 on the bottom. So here's a 9-piece puzzle. Put it together. You could look at it, look at the color shapes. You know, you got at least 4 of them that are corners and 4 more that are sides and only 1 in the middle. Puzzle together. Bing! Picture of understanding. So when you're conducting your size up, gather a small number of the most critical pieces of information to form awareness. And at a structure fire, I would say that small number of the most important things, just think of them as puzzle pieces. First piece of the puzzle, smoke. What is the smoke? Color, volume, velocity, and density. Second piece of the puzzle, fire. They kind of go together. You know, those 2 pieces of the puzzle should fit together pretty good. What is the fire? Color, volume, velocity, and density. So that's 2 pieces. The next piece, building construction. What is this structure made out of? 4th piece, how is this structure decomposing under the stress of fire? It's decomposed. Every building on fire is in the process of falling down. If for no other reason that fire is weakening the components of construction and gravity is pushing down on the structure at a constant force. So as the building weakens and gravity pushes down on its constant force, eventually the building will come down. So puzzle piece number 3, what is this building made out of? Puzzle piece number 4, how is this building decomposing under the stress of fire? You know, kind of looking at the building and trying to anticipate how the building is weakening as a result of the smoke and fire conditions. So you see how now I got 4 pieces of see how they fit together? Smoke and fire, building construction, decomposition. Those 4 pieces all come together nicely. Next thing I would look at is the speed at which conditions are changing. Paying attention to time and watching how fast the conditions are changing over time, over 30 seconds or over 1 minute or over a minute and a half. It's really hard to tell how fast anything is moving out of the context of time. You look at a photograph of a car going down the highway and say, how fast is it going? I don't know. But if you see a movie of the car going down the highway, it's easier to determine the speed. So the next puzzle piece, speed at which the conditions are changing. The last puzzle piece is the survivability profile of victims. How do you determine that? By putting together the other pieces of the puzzle. Smoke condition, fire condition, building construction, decomposition, speed at which conditions are changing. All of those give you the indication as to whether you can make an entry and save a life. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, the elements of how you develop situational awareness. Whole lot more to it. You know, visit my website, SAMatters.com, SA for situational awareness, SAMatters.com. Buy the Penwell book, Situational Awareness for Emergency Response. I wrote a whole book on how to develop situational awareness and about the major barriers that flaw awareness, and really, really good stuff. The people who read the book, the feedback they give to me, which is just incredible, is they say after they've read the book, I'll never look at a fire scene the same way again. Can there be any better feedback than that? That fundamentally you change the way you look at how you're conducting your size ups and how you're processing the information and how you're making your predictions of future events. And really that's the whole essence of the situational awareness development process. So if you want to learn more, visit the website, SAMatters.com, buy the book. Sorry I missed you at FDIC 2016, but hey, I better not miss you next year, 2017. I want to see you there. Whether you take my class or someone else's, get here and attend the conference.
DETs and services. Average training breeds an average fire department. Let FDIC help you achieve excellence. Now here's Billy.
Welcome to Fire Engineering Live Talk Radio from FDIC International here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I got my good friend Rob Fries and Gabe Attell from Globe Manufacturing here to talk about and debut the brand new athletics line of turnout gear. Super ultra lightweight, super protective. Nobody in the public, the general public, has seen it. It's coming to you live right here. Google Chat from fireengineering.com on the sofa. So Rob, welcome.
Billy, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Gabe,
thanks for hosting us.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. It's fire engineering and FDIC is the place to be when you're networking. And we're from New Hampshire, New Hampshire-based talk radio show, and Globe Manufacturing is produced in New Hampshire.
It is,
and it's a family generation after generation organization.
Yeah, fourth generation family ownership. Been in New Hampshire since 1901, and really proud to continue to be based not just in New Hampshire, but sourcing all of our materials in America.
It's pretty cool from my standpoint is I have like an hour ride and I can be in the manufacturing plant and the testing facility and I can see this material, and I didn't even get a chance to look at this. This was all under hush hush. They did an extremely good job just teasing the public that something was coming, and the buzz on the floor is just amazing. Your booth is just like vibrant, like a whole bunch of bees are swarming around the booth.
Tons and tons of folks there. Lots of excitement, as you say, high energy in the booth. We've got a couple of Olympic athletes and a world record holder in high jumps off a trampoline in there. It's a little crazy, but we're really trying to showcase brand new technologies and a brand new set of clothing that we're introducing here at FDIC.
Yeah, I wish I could take that camera down to the floor, because they got these guys on a trampoline that are bouncing 2 stories and doing flips and landing back on the platform like you see on YouTube. Olympic athlete doing it, and he's wearing this brand new gear.
He is. So, we're trying to showcase that turnout gear can be different than everybody's current expectation, in that we're here, people are trying it on, firefighters are here, and they're saying things like, gosh, this feels like outerwear. It feels like a bathrobe. It feels like my broken in Carhartt jacket. And it truly is a really novel approach, but it's been 3 years in the making. We've used every talent within Globe, and we've really used our network to get the latest in technology out of, academia, out of the lab, and even our supply chain. 3M, Tenkata, and DuPont have been involved in helping us to get to this place where, unlike any other turnout gear product before, it's flexible, you can wear it, just really increases firefighter performance.
Yeah, it's amazing. We have conversations pretty regularly on materials and protection factors and all the things that I lump into my Surviving the Insult class that I teach here on PP and SCBA, and how to determine interior benchmarks for go and no-go while wearing fully encapsulated PPE. And it's a huge component of Firefighter 1 and 2 that gets missed. The mark is missed because those modules are based off of donning for time and donning for quality. Mm-hmm. And there's not a lot of people teaching how to benchmark how hot it is, and is my gear still protecting me, or has it saturated and is no longer protecting me and starting to break down? And then by the time we get that sensory information, that tingling feeling on our skin, and our brain processes that, it's too late. The gear's already broken down. So I've focused for about, it's going on 12 years now. In 2007, I wrote the first article on it. And from 2007 to 2016, we are continuing to modify and update that program, because all the science is coming in from NIST and UL. And then my accessibility to your facility and to your testing lab and to the repair and warranty work people and getting damaged gear back has been, just incredible. Just incredible. The relationship alone. And I always tell people when I'm on the road teaching the class that I don't sell gear. I'm not a salesman, but I wear gear on a daily basis. And when we're in a burn building, I have the luxury of having barometers with thermal couplings, and I can say, what's the temperatures now on the radio? And I can tell
what I'm feeling, and I can relate it to an actual relative temperature. So I'm test sampling it in a facility that's real world versus, test lab where we're just doing some type of testing on a source piece of material and trying to translate that to the actual street firefighter. I'm trying to make sense of the science, what I'm doing. And technology is one of my biggest hindrances for the sheer fact that materials change, you get new. So now I've got to create a whole new learning curve with this athletics line, because I am born and bred, worn Globe gear my whole career, because we lived in New Hampshire, and all the departments that I worked for close to your manufacturing facility, and we've all bought in on the Globe way. It's family owned, run. If you could go to a facility and see this plant, which you can on the internet, I think it was How Gear Was Made, I think, right?
How It's Made and Made in America.
Made in America. You would quickly realize that there's very little automation. There's a whole lot of people, but there's very little automation. It takes people to make great products, and sometimes automation takes away that greatness. And that's one of the things that I give you kudos for, is because when you go there, you can talk to any one of the people in the facility and they're all happy. They enjoy their job. They love making gear that protects the responders throughout the world with really great products. And this is just another example of you guys being innovative. And I guess this is Gabe's baby, right? He's been working on it.
This is Gabe's baby. So, the things that you've been concentrating on are the areas really where all of us manufacturers have been concentrating on, trying to protect firefighters from the catastrophic environment. And so we have focused so long on the thermal side that what we've gotten to are products that are way beyond the human capacity. So, Nomex even doesn't break down to 800 degrees. You and I start to burn at 130. So this notion of having to teach firefighters and having folks tune into the environment that they're in and how long are they in there. When we do testing as a mode of comparison for insulative properties, we're going from room temperature to a 2-calorie load on these things, about 2,000 degrees, and we're measuring to try to get to 17.5 seconds of protection. When you're in a fire, you've already preheated that. Yeah. So we're not at room temperature anymore. We've already gotten to that level. So you're right. From the time to paint to the time to burn is almost instantaneous. Yeah. It's almost the same.
I teach that in the class that, hey, the testing process, 17.5 seconds with a 1,700 degree flash burn, is on cold gear. And when bad things happen to good firefighters every day on the internet, unfortunately, we do see a lot of burns. And there's very seldom is there a firefighter that's wearing cold gear that has that luxury of a 17.5 second burn. You're there fighting the battle, you're fighting the good fight, you're doing the right thing. And oftentimes your gear gets to that point where it's saturated and you get that sensory information, that little hair on the back of your neck that says, hey, something bad's about to happen. And when it happens, you only have 2 or 3 steps to get to an exit door, and we're often too deep. So I commend you guys, because what you're doing is you're also looking at it from the real world, that you don't have 17.5 seconds to focus on that protection factor and relaying that information to the consumer, right. When you're doing your testing.
One of the worst phone calls I get is when somebody has sustained some sort of burn injury, and we always want to do a diagnostic on it to see, is it environmental? Is it the gear? What were the contributing factors? Because we want to make improvements in the product as well. So 3 years ago, we started a voice of the customer process that has led us to this latest innovation that Gabe can kind of talk to us about in a minute. But it's over 20,000 inputs that led to this product, and it was centered around things like firefighter performance. So give me a better range of motion. Give me a garment that I can wear in these environments. Give me a garment that when I cinch down my SCBA straps, it's not all kind of bulked up and bunched up around my body. We're really concerned about cardiovascular events because statistically, those are occurring a lot more often than burn injuries are. And it's one of the things that the fire service tends to overlook because it's, how do I get the best performance thermally? How easily can I move in the gear?
What's it cost?
And what's it cost, right? And we lose track of this cardiovascular thing that's really the thing that's taken us out of the game. So we should pay a lot more attention to that. And the customer, by listening to them and understanding that, we've gotten to a much better garment. The other piece is carcinogenic particulate. We're spending a lot of money, a lot of our resources these days to get to the next level of protection. And the equipment is just a piece of that. It's going to be, as your viewers know, it's tactics, it's staying out of the smoke, it's gross decon,
limiting your exposure,
taking a wipe to your neck as soon as you come out, getting a shower as quickly after the event as possible.
Right.
I know your department and mine is no different, as is most departments across the country. We come back from a fire event, and the first thing we do is we focus on getting the apparatus back into service because we're going to have the next call. What we're learning is the reality is we should be going and taking a shower first and getting ourselves back in service, and then working at the apparatus.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's show everybody.
Yeah, let's pull out the new choice.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is Gabe. Gabe's the primary engineer that developed this stuff, right? Correct. That's your job title, I think, is engineering
design and product development.
Product development, yeah. So tell us a little bit about athletics.
Okay, so it's inspired by the thousands of input that we got from firefighters out there, and we basically once we get that data and we work that data over to try to understand what are the most important elements that we need to address to the market. So we reached out to our supply chain, for example, Tinkada for the fabric, and we tried to help them engineer a new fabric with us. So we worked together on the project, trying to achieve the most comfortable, also the durability factor, and also the performance level. So we took, when the fabric was available, we took the fabric, and then we tried to tailor it in such a way where we can maximize on the characteristics of the fabric by articulating the certain design line to make it the most functional and most comfortable.
One of the coolest thing that I found about it, and I've spent a little bit of time in the booth this morning, was that when you wear it, when you put it on, it's got a stretchability like an athletic garment would wear for a sporting team or sporting event. I would relate it to like the undershirt that you'd wear, like an Under Armour shirt, where it's a little stretchy. This gear has that same kind of flexibility and stretchability, and because it wears like that, it's like shoe fit on your boot line, where you don't have those achy feet anymore because your boot line is just amazing too, right?
It is.
And the gear now is matching that. It's a tighter fit.
Correct.
Less material.
Correct.
It has the stretchability, so you don't have to worry about that bulkiness, like you had mentioned, where when you put your straps on, you have extra material underneath. And then the benefit too is less material has less material to accumulate particulate in the cancer-causing agents that we find in the smoke now. But it's lighter. It's lighter than anything that you've really kind of produced in the market with the stretchability. Those two factors alone reduce fatigue. It's going to affect cardiovascular events from occurring, possibly because the breathability of this material is just impressive.
It's more breathable. THL numbers that we base breathability.
Total heat loss
in turnout gear, and we're in the initial testing. We're finding numbers in the 270 to 280 range, which is significantly higher than where current turnout gear performs. The other exciting thing about this for me is not only is it a stretch outer shell, but it's more like those athletic clothing that you'd wear that are a little bit looser fitting. So it's not body conforming type of stretch, but what it does is it gets you to a much smaller envelope around the body.
Yeah.
So you're not exchanging quite as much air with the external environment.
To put it in layman's terms, it's not yoga pants.
It is not yoga
Right?
pants.
It's not yoga pants, although, yoga pants look good on certain people.
Yeah,
But
some of us shouldn't wear those.
It has a stretchability, though, that when you're wearing a yoga pant during an exercise operation versus wearing a pair of jeans, for example, you don't have all that extra material. No one likes to go and run a 5K road race like we did yesterday for the Courage and Power Award in blue jeans. You'd rather wear a pair of sweatpants or an athletic pant or,
Because your skin stretches, and up to now, traditional fabrics haven't had that option.
Right. No, they haven't.
And this really allows the full range of motion. There's about 10 to 15% stretch in this, which is about what your skin does and mimics that. And so you get a range of motion that up to this point in turnout gear hasn't been achievable.
Right.
It truly takes this sort of a technology.
So I get super excited about this from a sheer fact that there's some components of this garment that no one else has right now. So Gabe can explain a little bit. One is you guys changed and redesigned the way that you did your reflective material. Correct. And traditionally, when you see garments that are insulted by, an extremely high thermal insult, the stitched on reflex light material, because that doesn't have flexibility, couldn't work in this garment because it was going to work against each other.
Exactly.
Counterproductive.
It would truly defeat the purpose.
Yeah.
In order for us to get the maximum stretch and flexibility, this particular heat seal 3M product is perforated in such a way that would allow us to stretch with the material and also be as flexible.
Yeah, it's like I talked to the 3M guys that are down in your booth too, because you got them there in the corner, and I got samples, and they explained it essentially it's a heat transfer.
Correct.
There's no stitching, there's no Nomex thread stitching, less impregnation of the actual outer shell, which also provides less possibility for things to come through, right? So
yeah, they've been great to have in the booth with us. They've been a resource for our customers that have been coming to visit, really talk about this brand new design. But they're pretty modest because the technology that they've had to develop in order to accomplish this in firefighters turnout gear is a lot different than the types of technology that they would employ in a roadside construction sort of a setting. It has to be heat resistant, it has to be flame resistant, it has to be able to adhere to outer shells that have durable repellent finishes on them, which effectively are Teflon. So we're trying to stick something to something that you're not supposed to be able to stick to. So it's 3M, so they are the adhesive experts on the planet. And they really did a great job at designing this. And Gabe's absolutely right. This garment's not achievable. You can put stretch in the shelf, but if you don't have stretch in all the layers, it doesn't work. And so I know Gabe spent a lot of time on the liner system of these garments as well. So maybe he'd share some of that with us.
So in order for us to capitalize on the stretch on the outer shell, we had to figure out a way to add stretch on the internal layer.
Yeah.
Because you can't have something against your body that doesn't stretch while the outer.
Sure, it's an ensemble for a reason.
It does not work that way. So what we end up doing is we end up adding a mesh panel in the back that would give you the maximum.
Look at the stretch on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it's mesh with natural holes in it, it's kind of beefed up, so it's got some dimension to it, which actually gives us the inherent thermal properties, but it allows moisture vapor to transfer through. So, we talked, a couple of minutes ago, we were talking about heat stress related issues. One of the things you have to do is you have to manage all that moisture and all that heat, and the mesh really allows us to do that.
The breathability is excellent.
Yeah.
So you get that, and then you've got this brand new from DuPont, this thermal liner that's in here in conjunction with a Crosstech moisture barrier. But the thermal now it's literally paper thin. It's a new technology. DuPont's calling it Nomex Nano, and it is a nano-sized fiber that they construct in such a way. It kind of comes in a rolled sheet form. And when you use that internal to the liner system, it has a thermal property that is very similar or on par with the current rather bulky thermal liners that you're used to in your department, or that I have my own turnout gear.
Right.
So this technology of Nomex Nano is something that's going to be able to be used not just in athletics, but we're excited that every version, every model of our product offering is going to have access to that sort of technology.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things that we didn't talk about, but Gabe and I had a conversation with, is the panelization of the garment, so that if you do need to do repairs, right, you have this function now that you didn't really have before, which could make the end user, the customer, fire chiefs that have to pay those bills, it gives them a little bit of a flexibility or benefit potentially repairing a garment versus previously we've had to decommission it and buy a whole new garment from scratch. So talk a little bit about that with the.
So with all what you have mentioned, the panelization is there to actually for repair, but also these strategic panels are set in a place to reduce the bulk across the chest, where we are making the silhouette a little bit narrower.
Yeah.
And also to be able to create the actual fit to give you the maximum mobility with the least amount of bulk.
Right. So you're basically taking a garment that would fit me, and it's going to have less material versus the material that I wear on my garment from you that's a different model,
yes,
different materials, and it's apples for apples. There's no comparison. One, it's different materials, but two, one's heavier than the other because they're different materials, but three, there's less material in this garment than there is in the garment that I traditionally wear.
Right. It is a more expensive garment. The materials that we're talking about certainly impact that, and there's more labor cost in these panelizations, so that you get the stretch in the proper direction for the wearer to maximize their movements. But you're right, there is a down the road benefit to doing repairs to these garments, because you're talking about smaller panel areas. You don't have to replace an entire coat back or
if you ever got to that situation and you need to do that's an option.
Absolutely.
What I think is really cool is this isn't something that you just developed on your own, sitting in your office and dreaming up, how can I make a garment?
Oh yeah, he pretty much dreams that way. He dreams in color.
But in reality, this comes from your customer panel that you put together,
correct,
so that the public knows this is a product that's coming from the consumer floor, and that it's not a product that you developed in hope that the consumer floor wants. And that's the difference between some manufacturers and some people that develop products for the world. Some people think, hey, I think I got the next greatest product, and it doesn't turn out to be because the audience or the target didn't want that product. I think it's pretty unique that you guys went this route, because this is a 3-year in the making process.
Correct.
And it still is, right?
It is.
We're still looking at fourth quarter or first of the year when you can be able to start producing these, because you need to really finalize what the product is, because the customers are still giving you feedback on a regular basis.
They really are. So the exciting part for Globe and how we develop product is this voice of the customer approach is and it's a formalized process. It actually was developed in Massachusetts, and that's where you can go and get formalized training. And if we only benchmark against the best of what our competitors do in terms of product, and cherry pick their best to achieve our best, we can only get to a level.
Yeah.
Right. And so we've gone out and done things like we do this 360. So we ask firefighters, we ask fire chiefs, we ask station officers, we ask distributors, because they have so much interaction with a broad spectrum of firefighters. And effectively we ask the 3 questions: what do you like, what do you not like, and what would you change if you could? And not unlike this setting, we have a conversation with them and we record it, and we do verbatim transcripts, and out of that we received over 20,000 inputs that led to this garment. So it took us a year to almost to take the data and distill it down to really 8 categories of functionality that we needed to make sure were inclusive in this garment that we now call athletics.
20,000 inputs.
And that's
pretty impressive.
What I think doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, I own the business, but what I think doesn't matter. It really is what the fire service is telling us, how their job changed, how their policies are changing, transitional firefighting, all those sorts of inputs have really led us to a dramatically different product.
Well, I think the line has a uniqueness to it for the sheer fact that it provides us with superior protection, but you're also focusing on the two biggest ones being the cardiac event emergencies, right? So total heat loss, stored energy, trapping energy, making our cardiovascular system work harder, blood gets thicker. By reducing the ability to trap energy, you've focused on how can I release it.
Yes.
And then the next one in the fire service, and it's huge, and Bobby talked about it, is the carcinogenic for cancer-causing agents, and what can we do to reduce our exposure? And you're kind of engineering it into the line because less mass is less trapping.
Correct. And closer fitting means less exchange.
Just particulate capturing. Yeah. And that's a unique feature too, you know. And I don't think maybe some of the consumers that when you go to sell it to them will even think of those, because like we talked about, comfortability, you know, durability, and what the cost is are usually the primary three things that fire chiefs ask a salesman or a regional rep. But the end user, the ones who are going to field test these, are going to come back and say, hey, I like this because it fits nice, it's stretchable, it feels like I'm wearing a ski parker and I can go skiing or snowboarding. That's what it feels like. I mean, I'm a skier. And when I'm wearing that, I feel like I'm wearing, you know, the big name ski parker that you can do anything you want to do in, and it's comfortable and keeps me warm. In this case, it's keeping us cool, right? So I think that you guys are onto something here, and I think the product line is going to grow some legs in a hurry here. You guys are going to be ramped up and overwhelmed.
We have been swamped here at FDIC in our trade show booth, and we'll have 3,000 to 4,000 customers, firefighters that will come in, try it on, go through a series of activities so they get an experience as to what this gear is all about. We can talk about it all day. We can see it here on your show, and but to a firefighter, there's nothing that replaces the experience. And then they want to learn the technical reasons as to why they're feeling what they feel, so it can be justified. It's always interesting to me when we go out into a fire department. I really try to focus on the customer drives the business. What I think doesn't matter. And so we'll put a series of a dozen cards on a table with different attributes of things that you're looking for in turnout gear. It's amazing. We keep talking about price. Invariably, it doesn't matter if the chief officer is in the room or not. The officers of the department, they want to protect the guys. They want to provide a set of gear that allows their guys to go in and do the job and focus on life safety. So price is always down somewhere near the bottom of all the categories that we look at, and it's more about intuitively they recognize that lighter weight, more flexible, more range of motion, having to expend less energy to do the job means less fatigue, and that the guys are simply safer with a high level of performance in their gear. So it's really been a breath of fresh air, and it's really enlightening to all of us that firefighters have been trying this on, and the passion that they feel about I gotta go back home, and in my training evolutions I need to explain to people really now what's available in terms of firefighters turnout gear, because this isn't evolutionary change. This is a step change in how firefighters.
Yeah, it's not a change of just material that we just changed out a material on a traditional line that you have. It's re-engineered from scratch.
That's
one of the things that I think is really cool about it, and I'm looking forward to it, is field testing it, is for the sheer fact that with the less material, how quickly will I get that sensory information so that I can relay go and no go, and can I determine what those benchmarks are, because I don't have to heat up more material before it starts to conduct through. and the engineered airspace, like you said, it just trap air, even though the garment is tighter to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, we were talking earlier about this fabric and how it sort of looks like a creped piece of fabric, and all those variations in the surface because of the stretched nature of it is really trapping a lot more air, and it provides a higher level of performance to the outer shell than even the outer shells that are available today.
And I'm anticipating that it's going to provide a higher performance level of feedback on the inside because of the less mass. So I'm looking forward to hearing that.
That'll be great. And you're going to experience that firsthand.
I am, actually. We were having a conversation about that. So I'm going to field test this stuff, and I'm going to be one of the 20,001 feedback customers that provides you with information. So, Rob, thanks for coming.
Billy, thank you so much.
Gabe,
thank you
for coming. Thanks for investing 3 years of your life, trying to figure out how to make us safer while we're out there trying to do our jobs.
Gabe has really done a fantastic job. I can't let the audience know enough the talent that resides here, that he's done design his entire life, and for a myriad of companies. And what he's brought to this party to deliver to the fire service is nothing short of kind of a miracle of science.
Yeah, well, it's a testament to Globe Manufacturing, because family-owned business, and you guys focus on providing the best possible product that you can to the consumer, because you know that what they're wearing, it's life or death.
That has been our primary focus, is to continue to do that. And that's what our mission is. So.
Yeah. So I thank you guys for coming. Hey, I just want to remind everybody that we're wrapping up here towards the end of the week. This is Friday, and we're at FDIC International here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And this is Tap the Box with Rob Fries and Gabe Atala. And we've been sponsored this week with Right Rescue Systems. They provide a whole line of rescue systems for rapid intervention, and great product. Look them up online. It's rightrescuesystems.com. Okay. So Billy Greenwood, Tap the Box. Unfortunately, you guys couldn't be here because you're watching the show, but look up Globe Manufacturing and globe.com and make sure that you get your eyes on a set of these gears. Very soon, it'll be out where regional salespeople can kind of get your hands-on product development, but it's definitely something that we should be looking for. Yeah. And I think that the buzz on the floor is crazy. That booth is busy. There's more firefighters putting on gear than I could ever imagine at one time.
It's
you got like 30 or 40 regional people there that are assisting, making sure everybody can learn about the product. And I think when it hits the streets, it's going to be just that much of the same buzz. So
I really hope the audience goes out. They're act safely, and truly, we'd love them to try this out and be safer, be able to perform better, and really begin to understand what turnout gear can be.
Yeah, what its capabilities are. Absolutely. So thank you very much. We're going to Tap the Box one last time at FDIC International.
923, I'll give you a corrected address, but you have a fire in a one-story ordinary, looks like it's about 40 by 120.
Welcome to the Unbreakable Firefighter Blog Talk Radio Show, where we are helping firefighters improve their performance level on the fire ground and inside the firehouse. The Unbreakable Radio Show is built to share the mission of becoming a firefighter that stands fast, learns constantly, and performs consistently. And now, let the building begin with your hosts, Ryan Pennington and Jim Walsh.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Building the Unbreakable Firefighter, live from the big show, the #1 fire service conference in the world. We are live on camera for the first time.
That's dangerous.
Jim has always said that, hey, Ryan, you've got a face for radio. Well, the face for radio is out. My name is Ryan Pennington, firefighter paramedic training officer from Charleston, West Virginia Fire Department. And as always, my good buddy, welcome back, Jim Walsh.
Thanks for having me.
From Winter Park,
Jim
Florida.
Walsh, Winter Park, Florida. Always glad to be here. Had a great week.
Can you believe they give us the wrap-up show?
I don't know why. Because there's nowhere to go but down after us.
No, there's only one direction to go once you're done like this. I mean, somebody had a T-shirt walking around the class that said, this is going to be your last year. She's not here, so we might be good for one more year.
That's true.
Yeah, right. So we're wrapping up FDIC here. It's been a beautiful week, even though we've had some pouring down rain. The firefighters have been out in just massive numbers. I mean, the restaurants have been packed for the city. The show floor has been phenomenal. The stair climb just got wrapped up. They had 800 runners in the Courage and Valor run. Unfortunately, and we've got bagpipers in the background.
I think they got us last year.
They did get us last year.
Right on.
Jim, how'd your class go? And tell the audience what you taught this year.
Okay, yeah. So my class was on Wednesday. I had my class at 10:30 right after opening ceremonies, and it was intelligently aggressive truck functions. And so it was the first time I taught this particular class. This is my 5th year teaching at FDIC. It's such a privilege to teach here. And so it was kind of a rebranding and total overhaul from a class that I've done previously called Aggressive Truck Functions for a Safer Fire Ground. So you know me, it was all about the truck stuff, really focused in on search. Before even that, what it really focused in on was riding assignments. The 2-team concept really got into that, which is a huge believer in that. It really improves your efficiency and effectiveness on the fire ground. And so then we got, talked about search, talked about laddering, aerial and ground laddering. Talked about the tactic of vent inter search, of course, right? You got to say that. And started talking about the water can and just some of the stuff that we believe in with the water can. So we'll got some fun news to share with you about that later on. But so it was good. The class went well. It was a packed room. So I really appreciate everybody's support on that. And it was great.
Man, how about 5th year?
5th year. So wow. I don't know. I guess Diane can't. I'm faster than Diane. She can't find me with that shirt. I guess that's how
I'm leaving on a jet plane shortly, so I'm bouncing out that door.
But it was good. How about your class?
Oh, my class was great. We were over at the Lucas Oil Stadium right by the Pierce booth. So it went great. The time frame is still a little bit adjusting. I talk really fast. I know that this is really hard for you all to believe out there in radio land that I talk really fast. But I crammed a lot of stuff, no pun intended, about hoarding into an hour and 45-minute session. I hit them hard and fast. I actually released a new VES video from inside 60,000 cubic feet of material. We sent firefighters on purpose inside a bedroom full of hoarding materials to make a rescue, and with the assumption that we could not isolate. And that way, we were opening up a flow path. So they knew that going ahead. And we did some interesting things. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag for all the FDIC attendees. That was the very first time in the world that anyone has seen that video. And we saw it from the inside, the outside, and all around. And it was amazing.
That's awesome. But that's the kind of quality stuff you see at a class at FDIC where you get this brand new material. The things that I released in my presentation hadn't been seen before. Not as earth-shattering as some of the stuff you were showing, but it was just that new, fresh content. And we've got there's so many quality instructors here and so many quality classes. The biggest challenge as an attendee of FDIC every year is which class to go to, because every time slot, I've always got like 4 classes I want to go see in each time slot. So
Man, Jim didn't get cued into this information, but looky here, I've got cue cards. It's like Wayne and Garth on Wayne's World. Wayne's World, excellent party time. All right, so we do have a solution to that problem. FDIC is posting 24 training classes from 2015 are archived on FDIC.com. Beginning in May, you'll be able to watch 1 free training class per month from 2016.
Nice.
So that's going to be 24, 25, up to 36. June 14th, they're releasing the big room issues and challenges in today's fire service with Chief Lasky, Salka, and some guy named Halton. I don't know what he does around here. I think he just walks around smiling all the time, because you can almost wipe that. You can't wipe that smile off that man's face for nothing, I'm telling you. So head over to FDIC, scroll down the right side, hit the archived webcasts. So cue cards are done. Thank you for the cue cards behind the camera. Because you know that, I mean, Jim and I would forget. Jim and I always make a schedule and a script for our Building the Unbreakable firefighter. And it always ends up being rep. Yep, those are done.
Never make it to the script.
I've got to ask you, Jim, this has been a phenomenal FDIC for me personally and professionally. And something that I'm really getting into more is some thermal imaging camera. Did you get a chance to stop by the Scott booth?
Yeah, I saw what they released. Pretty neat idea,
remarkable.
right? Pretty neat idea. They for those who don't know yet, Scott has introduced a thermal imaging unit, a small unit that's attached to the camera with essentially a heads-up display, and that's going to change. That's a little bit of a game changer.
It is a game changer.
MSA, I don't know if you got to see over their booth, they have something similar. It's not in the mask, but they have a tick option that they're working on.
Nice.
That is in the pass device, essentially. So you know, so it's neat to see that level of evolution. Yeah, and the really cool thing about it is, and this is another great thing about FDIC, is this is the show where they release this stuff.
That's right.
There are other conferences and so on across but this is where everything releases from, and it's neat, you know. So first day the show floor opens up, you know, you can't wait to get in there and see some of the new stuff.
Right.
And there's always some real good surprises.
There is. Hey, if you guys want to call in and talk to my guest today, actually he's my co-host. The call-in number is 760-454-8852. 8852. 760-454-8852. We'd love to hear someone out there who has not had the chance to visit FDIC speak with the old dog professional or the new young buck here finishing my second year. Huge shout out to Chief Halton and the whole entire selection committee for choosing us both again.
Absolutely.
If you guys have any questions about the greatest show on earth, please feel free to. We'd love to interact with you on the telephone here and ask some questions. Jim, we usually talk about some new things, the new Scott heads-up display and the MSA stuff. It's nice to see the evolution of education of the firefighters. We saw a lot of education classes this week on thermal imaging. And it's like you take yourself from a blind view to being able to see everything. I got a chance to sit in with Captain Andy Starnes from the Charlotte Fire Department and my mentor, his dad, Joe Starnes. But then again, there was other folks bringing out that stuff with the thermal imaging camera. Are we getting to the point where technology is going to make us safer? Or do you think the education is just finally catching up with the technology?
Can I say yes to both? Is that possible?
A cop out.
Yeah, it's a total chief move. You know, don't answer the question. Just right.
It depends.
So the technology, it's definitely going to help us out a lot.
Right.
And the one thing that we always have to make sure of is that while we should support all the new technology and use it, and it's going to make us more efficient, more effective.
Right.
We can't abandon the old school tactics that we know work. For instance, you know, talk about thermal imaging. You know, doing a search with a thermal imager is a fantastic thing, but if you're not trained on how to do it appropriately, you know, it's not going to work well. For example, traditional thermal imaging camera has a 55-degree field of view, whereas your normal peripheral vision is 90 to 100 degrees. So if you're not moving it around, there's a problem. But if it was in your mask and you look around, it follows you. So maybe that'll, hey.
Bada bing. Right? We got someone here.
But the really cool thing was I saw in some of the classes this year that we're incorporating a lot more thermal imaging videos into classes and things, and people are getting a better appreciation for that. So the technology's come along. It's fantastic. And I think it's just making us better all around.
I don't know how to say this, and maybe it's not the most politically correct. Yeah, me really, right? I think the instruction level has stepped up a notch.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like I can sit here and tell you, and this is a dig directly at him, that tillers are the worst thing for the fire service.
Oh,
But
we only have 25 minutes.
I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. But to back up their point of instruction, these instructors are reaching out to the ULs, to the NISTs, or they're doing the preliminary research, or they're setting up, they're capturing on video and thermal imaging camera. They're bringing the whys with the hows.
Right. And absolutely. And that's important. That's really important. We've got to continue to teach not just the how to do it, but the why to do it. And that's one of the things that science is going to help us understand, as long as we don't jump to conclusions and we apply it the right way. But again, like we said, we saw a lot of that being applied in the classroom. And, this is the premier, not only the premier fire trade show, but it's the premier educational event of the year as well. Some fantastic instructors just bringing some really great content.
It makes you nervous getting on the stage, and I don't get nervous very often. But I mean, when you're in the Super Bowl and you're getting ready for the kickoff, and you're thinking, "Wow, those ladies and gentlemen on the other team have earned the right to get here too." Yeah. I must say that the guys are saying, "Ryan, why were you fumbling your fingers?" Like, yeah. I mean, I've trained 3,300 firefighters last year in 2 countries, but those 50 or 100 was in my room today. I was like, oh man, these are the best of the best.
Yeah,
you better bring your A game.
Right. You don't want to let anybody down. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Right. But what else did you see on the show floor, man? Did you happen to cruise by Sudfin?
Yeah.
Man, I think Sudfin up their game, bub.
Yeah. They traditionally have only provided, midship options or, mid-mount options on their aerials and platforms and stuff. They came out with the rear option. Total engineering change for them. They had to change a lot of the engineering behind the ladder. And it's definitely going to put them in a market because, if you look at historically across the fire service, and I think the number is 3%. 3% of the aerial apparatus that are sold in the industry annually are mid mounts. Everything else is a rear mount. Right. So that, and I'm almost sure that was a number that was quoted to me today. So I'm not claiming it. So if it's wrong, I didn't make it up. But anyway, the mid mount, it's a smaller segment. So now Sutphin, this is their first rear mount option that could really help them significantly.
It's a short wheelbase truck with a medium-sized ladder that's designed for places where I work at, where you've got to go up and down in hills. Huge shout out to the Sutphin Corporation. They're a little bit homespun to us, by myself, because they're from the Columbus, Ohio area, very close to home. Shout out to those folks who have pushed the envelope of what they thought they've been doing for 120 years. And I really think we saw that all over. I mean, the Globe turnout gear, I mean, that was a while. The MSA was a while. And just the atmosphere of being around innovation. I mean, it's just, you can see the excitement when someone goes and sees something new and ready to test it and take it back with them. And I think that's what you gain at FDIC. Even if you just come here, I could spend a week just on the exhibit floors.
Oh yeah. And you walk some miles. How many steps did you get?
All right, hold on. Let's compare.
I'll have to look up the app to see.
Come on now. See the Android. See, once you go iPhone.
I'll pull it up.
4.7 miles today for a total of 10,200 steps.
So there you go. You do a lot of walking on the show floor, but it's definitely worth it. Just all the vendors just brought some phenomenal things this year, and they always do. And we do have to just say a special thanks to all the vendors that support the conference. It's major for them to bring. I mean, you look at some of these displays; they've been working a long time to make this happen. And I know they support the magazine, they support the conference, and this wouldn't be the show that it is without that trade show and without their vendor support. So we appreciate that. One of the other nice things about that is I had the opportunity to just, get face-to-face meetings with some of my vendors and so forth that I don't get to see all the time, but they're here. And so it just continues that relationship. And that's what it's all about, is the customer service and relationship. So that part's really important.
What about the social events? Does this place offer social events?
I'm not aware of any. No. You can't get bored here. No. You cannot get bored. And there's good thing there's no bedtime in Indy. Right? Because there's always something going on. There's people to see.
From the Fool's Bash on Thursday, the stop, drop, rock and roll, people were dropping. They were dropping cash. Wow, man, it was quite impressive to see Chief Goldfeder raising money for the National Fallen Firefighters.
That's great.
They had 800 runners out in the this Courage and Valor 5K. I didn't get a chance because my class ran over. But watching the firefighter throwdown over in Lucas Oil Stadium, that was freaking killer.
Very cool.
I'm going to challenge you.
All right.
Me and you next year, building the unbreakables. We're doing the squat cleans. We're going to be doing the squat cleans. And we're going to be doing the burpees and the wall balls. It's going to be the Jump Seat Nation and Vent Enter Search next year.
I will.
You heard it live. It's recorded for everyone to hear.
I will be broken.
You will be broken.
We'll give it a shot.
We're going to give it a shot. Next year, the Firefighter Throwdown 2017, we'll need at least a female firefighter, I think, and one more male, and we'll make sure that we are going to go in the Firefighter Throwdown. Here's the thing, is the person who finishes last still beats the 30,000 folks who didn't try.
Okay, that's a good point.
Bada bing.
That's a good point.
Right?
And we can always go for last, but like we can
go for last. Last.
We set a goal and we achieve it.
So
right?
really, we're first losers.
Well, that's
No, we're last losers. We're last first. All right, enough of that.
What else on the floor? Did you see all of the aerials? This was like the year of trucks.
Hold on.
Come on now. Oh, please. But you know you love them.
No, I do love them.
There was, you look out there, look out that window right now. We're in an awesome spot up here. We can look out on the tree on the floor. There's a lot of truck companies out there. A lot of aerials out there.
There was 2 or 3 tillers here. Both of them, I think it was 3 tillers. He would know.
Of course,
he would know. We got 175 truck from FDY.
Yep.
And their spec is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other fire department that specifies every nut and bolt on every truck. It's something that us as leaders need to pull from. Some of the neatest things I saw about the truck companies is, maybe this might not tend to you, is the compartmentation of the Quint feature. I don't think. I know. I don't think the Quint's dead. I think they keep improving it.
No, the concept is definitely, listen, it works well.
Right.
It works well for a lot of departments.
Right.
A lot of departments can't have a dedicated truck company, and a Quint's all they're going to have. I get it. There was a great class on that. Rob Fisher from Washington did a class on the Quint concept and working on that.
Right.
And ironically, though, he has a tiller in his department. I just want to point that out. But there's some great things going out there with the Quints. I really think we spoke about the game changer last year with Pierce and the 107 Ascendant. They upped that line again this year. They went with some different pump options with the puck. They also have one now with no pump, more ladder compartments. So the Quint concept, it works for a lot of people. It works for a lot of people. You just got me to say that.
Don't tell nobody.
It doesn't work for me though.
No. We ordered one. My home department, after we left last year, it took us 2 months in the Charleston Fire Department. We've got a 107 Quint on the way.
Nice.
Shout out to Pierce and all their service representatives and their sales representatives for the service. We've got 10 minutes to wrap this puppy up.
We haven't done our selfie yet.
We haven't done a selfie yet. All right, here we go.
So by the way, it was 11,400.
Oh, he's beat me in steps, but you're like 12 feet tall, so 10 of your feet or like 3. No, hold on. We got to figure that out later. But first, we've only got 10 minutes. Let's get our selfie.
I don't know. We did this last year, so we figured we got to do it again.
It's got to be on social media too. What? Who? All right. Building the unbreakable firefighter. Look at my camera first. 3, 2, 1. Going to you. Selfie.
Nice. All right. Oh, they
got a selfie too?
Wait, we got to do it where we're doing a selfie. There we go.
Oh, all right. Man, those are some ugly guys.
Okay, got it. You got some filters on that to throw that? Anyway.
All right, 5-minute wrap up.
All right.
FDIC 2016 in one word.
Amazing. Epic.
Wait,
I only get one word? You do one word.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great show. The like I said, the quality of the classes were unbelievable. The displays are phenomenal. So it's
one word. I'm sorry, 2 words. Chief Pegram. Man, Chief, you delivered a home run.
Yeah.
With the story about Molly.
Yeah. That there weren't many dry eyes in there for that.
Look, I'm gonna start tearing up now.
Yeah. Don't do that.
No.
It's not on camera.
No, you're not on camera, right? Chief Pegram, shout out to you and your family. Always continued prayers for Molly. That was a phenomenal speech.
Right. Absolutely.
FDIC 2017. Let's hope they invite us back again.
It might be.
Let's
we'll
hope
at least come as attendees.
Yeah, we'll come attendees. No, because we got to compete the firefighter throwdown. It's on camera.
Oh, so that's why we have to come back.
That's why we have to come back. So when we put our submissions to teach next year, is we have a contractual agreement to give the truck. Anything coming up for the Breakable? We got to watch 6 weeks to the next show.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I'm sure we'll come up with something great. Like you said, we've always come up with a fantastic list, and we never quite make it to it. But we're always having fun with it.
Yeah. Parting shots. Give shout outs your Twitters.
Oh, Twitter handle, that kind of thing.
You got to talk to them, not me. I know your Twitter.
No,
I know your Twitter. I know your Twitter handle.
At Jim, JIMM_Walsh on Twitter, and at Venator Search on Twitter.
And you'll be teaching anywhere anytime soon?
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up. Going to Atlanta, teaching in the Atlanta area, Metro Atlanta area. Soon, next 2 weeks, we're going to Southwest Florida teaching. Got something coming back up to Indiana later this year. Going to be filming training minutes.
Ooh, keep an eye on fire engineering training minutes.
Yep, we got that scheduled. So yeah, a lot of good stuff going on.
You're not gonna wear a white helmet, are you?
I'm not wearing a white helmet.
Yes.
Not wearing the white helmet.
So the Jump Seat Nation comes back from Indianapolis, and I'm taking a break. I'm going back. I've got it.
Well deserved.
I do. Last year I hit 28 classes, and there's 52 classes, 28 locations, over 3,300 firefighters taught in 2 different countries. This summer, pumping the brakes. I'm staying home. Got 90 days to promotional exams. So for the next 90 days, me and John Norman are going to know each other real well. I've got his telephone number. Sorry, Chief, bad move. Hey, Dave, when on chapter 15, line 3, what was you talking about here?
What were you saying here?
Yeah, right. Hey, I got a chance to spend 3 hours in the car with him and Bruno the other day. I recorded, and I'm just kidding, Chief. So it was fantastic. So Ryan's taking a break. 90 days, I'm in the book. So all you folks out on Jump Seat Nation, you won't see Twitter, you won't see Facebook. Only thing you'll see is the smoke rolling off my hair. Coming up in the fall, we'll be back online with the Unbreakable Firefighter. Jim, thank you for everything.
You, bro.
We're going to Uber. Can we Uber later?
Yeah, we'll Uber to the airport.
Man, for a country boy, Uber is the best thing ever. We had a guy singing Prince to us last night on the Uber.
Oh, did you have to pay extra for that?
We didn't have to pay extra for that. All right, so on Twitter, it's at Jump Seat Views. On Facebook, we got a closed Facebook group where we keep some private conversations going on, and that's facebook.com/groups/Jump Seat Nation. Use the hashtag Jump Seat Nation, hashtag Unbreakable Firefighter. Make sure to check out Jim Walsh at Venator Search. That's it. I got my bags are packed. I'm leaving on a jet plane. FDIC 2016. Thank you, Jim.
All right, man. Thanks, brother.
Guys, be safe. And remember, when you're building the Unbreakable Firefighter, it starts with you. Cue the music.
Muted.